Why did you want to become a counselor?
I originally wanted to work with people with disabilities. And so I didn't specify in my mind that I had to be a counselor, but I wanted to be in the field of rehabilitation. And that is the social service agency. So things just kind of evolved to the point where they became counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but throughout, that was the common thread. No matter what population I worked with, I was doing counseling.
Okay,
So,
that's nice. Why did, if you don't mind me asking,
mm-hmm.
what had you decide, or why did you decide to go into disability, working with disabilities
I
in the
was just
first place?
fascinated with it. I was going to a university that was built and designed to focus on the returning Vietnam veterans.
Oh wow.
And so that was the campus I was on. And so getting to, and even in high school, working at the Air Force Base, working with some of the former Vietnam vets that were in the workplace, gave me the idea that I enjoyed my interactions. And so when I was in college, I continued to pursue that. And through my research, I was even more enthusiastic and passionate about it. So, yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see that you found something you were finally passionate. Not finally, but passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like
That wasn't my first choice for my major. I just eventually discovered that's really what I wanted to do. So, yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose the College of DuPage as the school for which you wanted to work for? Have you only worked as a counselor at COD, or did you work at other schools besides COD as well?
COD is the only school I worked at, but this is my third career. I originally started working in criminal justice, and then I started working with only individuals with disabilities. And the reason I came to College of DuPage was because I decided to work with students with disabilities. And so that led me to the academic environment. And the longer I was here, the more evolved I became in what I was doing. So changing from just focusing on students with disabilities to the broader um, student body that attended COD, and now with a great emphasis and focus on veterans.
Nice.
So yeah, kind of came full circle, huh?
You could say that.
Yeah, yeah.
What and all should be taken into account on a daily basis while working as a counselor?
Mm. That you can never predict what the day is going to offer. You walk in and you never know what's going to happen. You don't know whether you'll get a student who has to absolutely see you because something's going on, or you don't even know those, if you had a schedule, if it would stick. Maybe things would change and get rearranged. Maybe there'll be cancellations. Or if you thought you had an open day, it may get filled with a number of other things. And sometimes we can get called from faculty, come into their classroom, or go to their office and meet one of their students, or they bring a student in to us. So there is always a change in what could happen in a day. So I just say it's not predictable, and I like that because there's such variety.
Do you like the? I'm sorry, you said they like the unpredictableness.
I like the variety. My day is not the same every day I walk in. And the students aren't the same. I'm meeting with different students, and I enjoy the stories. Students come in, and they're unique people, and so everybody's different. And I enjoy getting to know that difference in people, and so that makes it nice. It's not as though it's boring. So, yeah, it's enjoyable.
Nice. Sounds like I'd like. I like the idea of being ready, kind of being ready for anything. I always felt secure with pretty much any situation, or not secure. Long story short, I love being prepared for the unpredictable.
Yeah, and yeah, I didn't say that I like helping people, but I guess I take that for granted. That's why I'm here. I'm gonna do that, and so whoever walks in the door, I've got to be prepared to assist that individual, whatever they say the issue is. And so I can't predict what that issue is going to be. So, yeah.
Sure.
Sometimes it's really mundane, and they'll say, I just need to know a telephone number because I need to get in touch with a service. Okay. Or other times it's, I'm not sure what I need, but here's what I'm going through. And other times it's, things are so in disarray for them, I might need to make a phone call and get them into treatment somewhere outside of the institution. So, yeah, just depends.
Sure. Okay. If you coach a sport for a high school or team league or park district, I don't know if you do or not. But
If I what?
if you coach a sport, such like a baseball team for little league or high school or something, how does that affect your job?
So if I took on something else outside of here?
Do you coach a sport?
Mm-mm, I don't. No. So I guess that would only pertain to someone who is in secondary ed.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but we are able to take on jobs outside of here. You know, so maybe I might take another teaching job somewhere else as part-time, and I'm able to do that. And how would that affect my role here? Because I am a professor and I do teach here. As long as it's outside my work hours, there tends to be no conflict of interest and no issue. I can't speak to what might be the issue if I were to take on something else inside here. They don't permit that any longer. As a full-time person, I can do counseling and I can teach, so I can do those two things. Formerly, part-time counselors, as an example, were able to do counseling, be able to teach, but now they can only work in one department or the other. Yeah.
Really?
So,
Is that a new policy, or is it just how it is?
That was new as of maybe about 3 years ago. Yeah. So it's just their preference.
That's what it is, I guess.
Yeah. They get to make up the rules as they go along with it, and so they decided change rules. And although we had operated, I've been here, this is my 25th year.
Wow.
Yeah. And so up until 3 years ago, it had always been people could work in one department and then go work in another department and it not be an issue. But they 3 years ago made a change. The new administration made a change. That's what it was. Yeah.
Did that change at all with the new president? I heard about the old one getting removed from office for, I forget why.
That was his administration that made that decision to keep people only in one department instead of allowing them to be shared in other departments.
I really like that.
Yeah, I know. You know, because I would think the more talented your workforce is, the more you want to encourage them to use those talents.
Sure.
Whether it's in a number of departments, you know. I don't really understand the logic and rationale behind that. I think what we were told as a rationale was how difficult it is for them to manage and track that. But with technology, why would it be so difficult to track? I don't know. So, but it had never been a problem up until that administration. Yeah. So, and I've worked under a total of 4 different presidential administrations, and that was the first one in which had an issue with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hold on, let's see. So what's the environment like here? What's it like to work at COD?
It's wonderful, I think. You know, and that's why I've been here for the length of time I have. It's to work in an educational institution is something that if you love learning, you'll find it very fulfilling, because what you do, there's so many opportunities to learn. You're learning something. If I sit down with a colleague from another department, I'm learning about their area. I'm learning something new I didn't know, and so it's very fulfilling and satisfying. And if you're not always growing and learning, then it's not going to be a very good fit. If you feel like you reach a point where you just want to stagnate yourself, you know. So I say one of the things that's nice about working here is the opportunity to keep learning. You know, if you just got a curious mind, there's all kinds of classes and professional development. Even if I want to go sign up for another class of some kind, that opportunity exists. And since I'm exposed to all that on a regular basis, um, it's wonderful. So that's one of the pluses. The other is I love the people. As big as we are, I may not see individuals for, you'll start to work in committees as an example on a project, and then maybe for a couple 3 years after that work is over, you don't see that person again, and then you run into them. It's like, oh, you're still here. It's good to see you. And so, even though you don't see each other every day, you feel like you're a community and you're part of something that's a community, a family. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the other thing. I like the people.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's what I had hoped to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. So, I did a little research, and this is, I did it on high school, because that's where I wanted to, as you know, where I wanted to work. But, how would, or not how, I apologize, with the yearly salary that counseling, has, would I need a second job if I were to raise a family in a house or in a condo, or just in general, a family, because I know a family it's not the cheapest thing to raise.
It could be challenging. The thing is, you have to think about what your expenses, living expenses, are going to be different. As you know, different communities have a different living requirements in terms of wage requirements. So, if you were living in Oak Brook, the housing cost might be a lot higher than if you were somewhere out in Sandwich, Illinois, as an example. So you have to take that into consideration. What county are you going to be living in, and what village or community will you be living in within that county? And that will drive a lot of whether it's affordable or not. The other thing is, over time, you gain more income. So usually in education, you receive more money based upon your years of experience and years of service. Okay? So even if you applied for a job as a new teacher, as an example, or new, in your case, it's going to be through secondary ed. They probably have a unionized shop of some kind, which will determine where they place you on the pay scale. So they'll look at how much education do you have, what's your degree. They'll look at how much years experience do you have, and that's where they'll start you. And then the longer you're there, they're looking at years of service as well as experience. So by the time you accumulate like maybe 10 years, 15 years, you are really moving up the pay scale. Okay, but you may not start where you ideally want to be. But yeah, and so if that's the case, you may have to take on a couple jobs. Maybe you're a full-time counselor and you take on something that's part-time. It may be to be a coach somehow, or to teach a class or two. Maybe you'll go teach at another institution. But over the years, you'll find that you'll start to gain momentum in your earnings. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So,
Sure. Let's see here. Okay. So, this one's a little different. This one's a little more student-focused.
Okay.
So, how would you deal with an emotional student who has a dilemma in which there isn't really a clean-cut answer to this to solve the solution, but the student is definitely going through a crisis?
I think I would sit down and use my counseling skills to work with that individual. So we'd have a private session in which I try to determine what is going on. What are the issues that are presenting? They're in crisis, why? Is it something from their home that they're going through, or is it something they're going through with their peers, or is it generally how they're feeling? Is it something that's emotionally involved, or is there a mental health issue that's going on? So I try to figure out what get to the bottom of the problem, and that would determine how I'm going to respond to the problem. So If, as an example, the crisis is brought on due to a actual mental illness, I'd like to know, are they in therapy? Do they have a therapist? Who is that person? How is that being treated? Are they on medications? Should we get a hold of their therapist? Should we get them in right away? If they have that kind of problem and they are not connected with anyone, then I try to determine how serious the problem are. Are they in danger of hurting themselves or someone else? If that is the case, then I'd probably want to get them into have them transported to the hospital. If I couldn't take them, have somebody transport them. Okay, because they need to be in treatment. If I feel like they're in danger of them hurting themselves.
Sure.
On the other hand, their crisis may be just temporary. Maybe they're about to go through finals right now, and they're having a panic attack because they're feeling the stress so acutely. And so it's a matter of trying to understand that that's where they are, and having them understand that's where they are and what brought it on. And then what are some techniques and strategies that I could help them? Can I identify something that would help bring down the anxiety level that we could do right then in my office? So I guess it just depends on what is brought on that crisis.
I guess kind of the purpose of being ready for anything, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Comes with the job.
So, yeah.
Nice. Alrighty. How do you learn to recommend courses to students that don't know what classes or even sometimes what major they want to go into here?
How do I recommend classes for them?
Yes.
I try to get a general idea of where they see themselves going. They may not know specifically what they want, but they may know generally what they want. So as an example, they may not be able to tell me, I want to be, as an example, let's say a attorney. They may not be able to tell me that, but what they might be able to tell me is, I know I want a bachelor's degree, so that tells me they want to go to a 4-year school. Yet they're in the 2-year program now. And so if they can tell me, I don't want to do anything that's scientific, mathematical, or technology based, that also helps me refine what I can recommend as course taking for them. And so what I might recommend, if I know they want to transfer somewhere and they don't want the technology and the sciences, then I would recommend that they do a liberal arts education to start with. And so it would be an Associate of Arts, and I lay out all the coursework that's part of that they can choose from. And within that framework, they can begin to experiment and take classes that will fulfill them because they have so many choices. But as they're experimenting, they're taking classes that they may stumble across something that really they say, well, they may take a psych class and say, ooh, I think this is really what I want to do. But nonetheless, they're all getting all their coursework ready for them to transfer to a 4-year school and make sure that it's useful coursework, even though they aren't so specific to indicate, I want to be an attorney. Now, along the way, if they still remain at that level of confusion, there's opportunity to do things like career development and do career assessments and go from there with the student.
Okay.
Yeah, while they're still doing some of that liberal arts coursework.
Sure. Because it kind of also helps with having a lot of experience. Obviously, it's something you have.
Yeah, it does. But that's kind of, keep the student moving forward without them stopping, and at the same time doing things that are going to be useful and of value and relevant for that they can use in the future, no matter which decision they may end up making.
Sure.
Yeah.
Here's a really serious question for you. What's your favorite color?
Can't you tell? Blue.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Alrighty. Here we go.
You want to know why blue?
Sure.
Because blue is very calming. It makes you feel very serene. If you think about the ocean and the water, it's just very calming and relaxing. So I love the color blue.
I had loved the color blue since I was, I'd say about 3 years old.
Uh-huh.
In high school, that enhanced because I went to, I don't know if you know of it, Downers Grove South High
Uh-huh.
School, and their main color is blue, which
Ah.
for me was great because it's already my favorite color.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, you can't go wrong there.
There you go. There you go.
Perfect.
So, yes, I don't know why I'm so attracted to blue or what attracted me to blue, but I just know it just makes me feel good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, one of my, growing up, I had a favorite fictional character, and he was also the color blue,
Uh-huh.
and so I love that about him as well.
Huh. Okay.
So,
I was just thinking Smurfs. That's the fictional character.
yeah, that works.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
Moving on.
Okay, Kyle.
What advice would you give to students like myself who are currently studying and hoping to become counselors in the near future?
What advice would I give? I think it's a very noble calling, personally. That's what I would tell an individual. You don't do it because you think you're going to make a lot of money. Because I've realized over the course of my life of investing in people is that as a society we don't value that kind of career. If we start to think about what do we reward those careers where we work with things. Like if we think about technology, if we are in computer science where we're working with a computer or we're working with coding and language, we would get paid quite a bit. But if we want to work with people and invest in people, our society doesn't reward that highly in terms of earnings. So you have to make sure that you love that and you're passionate about helping people, because it is the helping profession. And I happen to believe that there's no more important thing than people. I mean, you know what I mean? People have the value on people is irreplaceable. I mean,
Sure.
and so I just don't get why we have, as a society, our values upside down. But I say, go for it, do it, because I think people are deserving of others to invest in them. So that's my advice to you.
Thank you.
And there's so many ways of doing it. And even if you bored with counseling, you could move into something else, still helping individuals.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and I think I'm proof of that, looking at how my careers have just gone in different places, but always with the same core, which is helping others.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always seen myself as someone helping others. I personally wanted to become a math teacher. It was my initial major coming into COD. And as my time spent with doing math was what I wanted to teach in 6th grade. And as I kind of moved along with my courses and my time here at COD, I realized that it's not that I wouldn't have the patience, not necessarily have the patience for teaching, but there's just too much for me to take into account as a teacher that I just wasn't prepared for. And after that, I thought that I knew I still wanted to help people. And so I thought therapy would be a good idea with the one-on-one.
Yeah.
But that's also a lot of stress because if you have, well, as you know, it's similar with counseling. Whereas if you have one person that you don't know how to help them, what's that do for you?
Yeah.
That's not very good for you. It's not very good for them either. With education, I thought that counseling would be good because this way it's something that you feel calm about and that you know a lot about because you're professional and you're still helping people.
Yep. One of the things I want to share with you, it didn't come up thus far, but I'll just put it out there, is the nice thing is you don't have to have all the answers when you're a counselor. You can utilize your colleagues, because sitting down and debriefing with another person, I've had this case, I'm working on this case, or I had this student and I was talking to the student, and this is what I did. What would you have done? And they may give you a different perspective. Or they may tell you, I would have done exactly what you did. Or had you thought maybe this might have been helpful, or maybe this might be what the student is going through and they didn't say. So just don't forget that others that do the same kind of work can be a resource for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. Because sometimes you can feel like you're all alone. I've been an administrator here over the counseling department years ago. And one of the things I used to always tell other administrators here who were not over the counseling department, they tell me, "Oh, you're counselors." It's like, and I would have to tell them, it's like, you don't seem to understand that counselors take in everybody's stuff all day long. Whatever that stuff is, and some of it's bad, some of it's depressing, some of it's sad. But once you're full of that at the end of your day, where do you go with that? You go home and what? Well, as an administrator, I would see myself as one of those people who would talk with the counselor and let them kind of debrief with me. They might have had a bad week, or they might have had, and so I'm sitting in one of their meetings and they're all kind of like on high alert, and it's like, come on guys, and may have to have them feel like, oh, I can relax, I can let all that go, So sometimes that was necessary. And what that gave me the ability to really see from sitting in that seat is that once you're full of all the negativity that people have placed on you and handed you, you need a way to get rid of it. And where do you take that? Where do you go with that? And so sometimes it's with a friend, sometimes it's at home with a loved one, sometimes it's with your supervisor, other times it's just sitting with your colleagues and doing a staffing or debriefing. So and if that happens, you look for those opportunities, because we're only human, and we can't help but be touched by another human being's experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. What do you like and dislike about being a counselor? I think you kind of answered this already.
Yeah. I just love helping people. I love helping people. And the dislike, I guess, I would say, sometimes I feel like I can't do enough. There might be something where I'm looking at a person's situation and wish I could do more. Mm-hmm. So that would be what I would dislike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've had some students walk in and tell me they were homeless, and it's like, and my first thing is, if I can't find them something as a resource, then my inclination might be, maybe I can provide them a place to live by coming to live with me. But that's not appropriate, because then you're not maintaining your objectivity as you are a professional trying to work with people. Because now you're beginning to make it all a personal undertaking, and it becomes your issue.
Sure.
So,
Okay. Have you ever had any regrets about becoming a counselor? Has there ever been a time in which you wish you weren't? You just weren't a counselor. Like, oh, why did I choose this job?
I've had moments where I didn't like the job I was in, but not the profession I was in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to make the distinction between the organization I was in, what their rate of pay might have been, or what their requirements might have been, versus what it was that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I can see the difference between them.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's good. If you could be anything other than a counselor or a coach, well, obviously you don't coach sports like you said earlier, but
what would I choose?
Pretty much. If you could be anything besides a counselor, what would you be?
Does that mean I have to be good at it?
Your choice.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I might say I might have been a nurse. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah, I might have been a nurse. That's where I started out when I started college. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I'd say a nurse.
Nice.
Okay.
And last question. What kind of appreciation would you say you get out of being a counselor in general?
I don't get a lot of appreciation from the people I help. Occasionally it does happen, but I think it's enough for me. I have some internal satisfaction to know I've done the best I can each day I come in. I give of myself to the best of my ability. And I don't feel as though I walk out with people being disappointed with what they got. So I would say I feel like I'm satisfied with what I do. And occasionally I might get a letter of appreciation. I might get someone thanking me as they go out, or I might be somewhere else talking to someone and they'll tell me, well, so-and-so was talked about you to me and they thought you were fantastic. Or that doesn't happen on a regular basis. That's not every week. May not even happen every month. It happens occasionally. And all of those are really appreciated when it happens. But I think internally I know what I do and how well I do my role. And so for that I feel content and not necessarily waiting to hear the thank yous. So
Sure.
yeah. And so they pay me to come in and do a job, I do it. And sometimes I go beyond what's expected, meaning that I might have, end of my day might be at 5 o'clock, but if that student isn't done at 5, I'm not going to get up and say, it's time for you to go. It's like, let's just play it out until they're done.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
One extra question, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Is there ever a way of getting any sense of promotion with being a counselor, or is it kind of I know you talked about how when I asked about salary, you said like most other jobs, when you start out, you're not going to have the salary as if when you're, say, 20 years later into the same job. But is there a sense of promotion other than pay with being a counselor, or is it not really?
Not really. You can find things that make you fulfilled, such as you could take leadership roles within your organization. It might be for your whole cadre of colleagues in the group, or it may be to take leadership on various different initiatives or efforts that are underway. So if you were in a high school and the high school wants to do something, maybe they're looking at a set of kids that really have a need, and you say, well, how about if I design something that would speak to those students? It might be something for the underprivileged or those that are not being successful, and maybe I can do some things and create and design an initiative and implement that. So you might be able to develop that into something that becomes a paid piece, or it become a grant of some kind that creates pay. But so there's always this way of, if you can think outside the box, you may be, and it depends on what motivates you. As an example, in an state, or because you're probably going to have a state license, and within the state organization, maybe you'll take a leadership role within that. And then what you're creating is a name for yourself and an expertise of some kind, and it allows you to be more mobile as you compete for other opportunities and roles, which could command more money. People would know you before you were even in the organization because of your contribution. So there's all kinds of things you could do and it depends on what you value. It doesn't always have to be money. It could be prestige. It could be reputation, that kind of thing.
Sure. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure,
Very
Kyle.
much appreciate it.
So I hope you got everything you needed.
That was perfect.
Oh, okay.